You're listening to Think About It with Pastor Peter Carbless.
Welcome to another episode of Think About It with Pastor Peter Carbless. Peter, welcome back.
It's lovely to be here.
Peter, last episode we started unpacking the whole idea of looking into the Apostles' Creed, and we dug into the background a little bit and the origins of where that came from. Today, what I want us to do is to start unpacking it line by line, word by word, precept by precept, as they say, and just sort of really, because we've identified that it's a really rich thing and it's a really significant thing. And I think we need to take a little time to slow down and really come to grips with what we're saying when we recite the Apostles' Creed.
Yeah, I think that's lovely. And one of the things I love about this is what we're going to do is we're going to go very slowly. And we're actually going to do what Christian meditation actually is. And this is actually the fullness of meditation. We're going to go slowly and allow the words of that creed to become things that we ponder upon, and we allow our hearts and our souls and our minds to embrace these things and to encounter them.
Oh, that's great. So, first line is, I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. Now, let's go right back to the start of that and say, I believe. What are we saying by I believe? Is that just giving mental assent to these are facts? Or is it much deeper than that?
Well, let me say two things. First of all, the earliest, I think, copies of the what's called the Apostles' Creed were in Latin, although I suspect it was originally taken from a Greek original because the Christians in Rome in the early centuries, their main language was Greek.
They were speaking Greek.
They were speaking Greek.
Yeah.
And then because they were living in a Latin world, Latin took over. But the first line of the Apostles' Creed in Latin sounds like this: Credo in Deum Patrem Omnipotentem Creatorem Caeli et Terrae.
Peter, it's all Greek to me.
Right. No, that was Latin. In Greek, it's Pistevo eis Theos Patera Pantocratora.
No, you're just showing off.
All right. But credo there is actually just the Latin word for I believe.
Okay.
All right.
Hence creed.
Creed. And that's where we get the word creed.
Yeah.
So when people are afraid of creeds, you've got to realise that there's a healthy use of that word and a very unhealthy use of that word. And so the interesting thing is, if we look at that in the Greek language, the word used there for I believe is pistevo. Now, pistevo is the verbal form of the noun pistis, and pistis is often translated faith in the English Bibles. But the interesting thing is we don't have a verb for faith in English.
No, we don't, do we? I don't faith something.
I don't faith something.
It's just a noun.
No, it's interesting. And what that shows is that our languages don't have the ability to carry some meanings. And therefore, as Paul often says about the way humanity is looking at God, we see through a glass darkly. It's not that we don't see things and we're not seeing the right thing, but we tend to see them fuzzy. It's a little bit like what would happen if I took my glasses off.
We just don't have a word to put into that.
We don't have the word to put into it. It's interesting that even the word believe in English, which is, if you like, the verb, back in the very early centuries of Christianity, one of the earliest Christian leaders, a fellow called Bede, often called the Venerable Bede, he's accredited with actually introducing the word believe to the English language because English did not have a word that had to do with I apply my faith to something, right? And he was trying to find that word. And the interesting thing is that he took the word for love from its Germanic roots, which to these days I think it's Liebchen, my love, my Liebchen. Lieb, and the Lieb is the love word, and you can hear the similar sound between the English word love and the German root lieb. Right. Now, to believe was to attach your love to something, to attach your heart to something. The interesting thing is that in English these days, when we say the word believe, we're actually saying we give mental assent or cognitive assent to something, and it's become unemotional and detached from an embrace. So when the very first word of the Apostles' Creed begins, it says pistevo in the Greek. Pistevo means I attach the fullness of my being. I have given my heart. But I have intelligently given my heart and attached myself.
We're saying I embrace that thing. I embrace it.
I embrace, I warmly and welcomely and lovingly embrace. In fact, it's interesting that the word pistis, from which pistevo is the verb, when it's most commonly translated into English, it's a very common Greek word. In the non-biblical Greek language, say of Aristotle or whatever philosophers you've got, it's most often translated loyalty.
Okay.
Right? So you could say that I give my loyalty to the one God.
And when you attach your heart to something or you give loyalty to something, that's not a blind thing. As you said, there is an intellectual aspect to that. You're not doing it without reason or without thought. You've actually thought it through. It's almost, the thing that comes into my mind is a marriage vow. It's the same sort of idea. Is I pledge my allegiance. I give my heart.
Yeah, and exactly. And you take a look at, when we're looking at love relationships, there's a lot of thinking involved in love relationships.
Well, there should be.
And because of my commitment to my beloved, I spend a lot of time thinking about what will please her and what does it mean for me to be faithful to her. What are the things that I need to do to avoid being snared away from that? And so there is a lot of thinking that goes into that, but you can't reduce love and believing to just mental assent.
Just
Right?
as we shouldn't reduce love to just feelings.
Precisely.
Yeah.
In fact, unless you've got the two things, you haven't got it. There's a wholeness. In fact, I would say there's three things. And now I'll use some funny words, but in education we speak of the cognitive domain. That is the domain of thinking.
Yep.
We speak of the affective domain. That's the domain of our emotions and our motivations. But there's a third one which I believe should come to the fore, and it's hanging around in the background, and it's called the conative domain. Now, the conative domain is the domain of our inclinations, what we lean toward. Our will is part of conation. In other words, when we make a choice, I have decided I'll act upon something I'm inclined toward. So when the scripture says, hearken unto me, right? He who has an ear, let him hear. That's all speaking about the direction or the disposition of our lives. So it's our thinking, our emotions, and our disposition all need to be cultivated toward God. And basically the word pistevo, aistheos, the word I believe, I am now loving the Lord with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. And those things are all the domains of that. And the word pistevo is basically saying, that's what I'm giving. That's the very simple first word, credo, pistevo, I believe. That word in its depth means all of those things at once.
It's the mind, will, and emotions that we talk about. I mean, we're body, soul, and spirit, and the soul is made of a mind, will, and emotions. And it's all those three aspects.
All those three aspects. Yep. All those three aspects is what the word pistevo actually means.
So when we say, I believe, we're saying, I mentally assent to the existence and the person of a God. In my emotion, I give my heart, and I choose in my will to do what that requires.
Yes. And other words that we can use for that is I am aligned with this.
Yeah.
There's a theologian, I think he's Canadian or it could be American, a fellow by the name of Matthew Bates has been actually exploring. So what does the idea of faith mean if we, instead of translating the word pistis, faith, as we now have it, because it's become such a damaged word, he said, what if we translated it a loyalty-related word like allegiance? Right? And so, and he's written some very interesting work on that, very challenging work. And the thing is that when we look at that is I give my allegiance to God. I am loyal to the one God. I am in love with the one God. I can see and make sense that there is such a thing as this one God. I believe in him. I know he's true. I know about him. I know him. I know about him. And the word has this intense depth of richness. And it's a beautiful thing. And this is where we come to the issue of Christian meditation. We could simply sit down and say, Lord, let me now saturate myself. Let me sit down and let myself Let the pebble drop. Let it sink into the depths of what it actually does mean to believe, to be attached, to give my allegiance to be loyal to respond to live in the embrace of, and to welcome the embrace. That's really just what that simple first word of the creed is saying.
Yeah, that's true. Powerful stuff.
Beautiful
Only
stuff.
one word in. So then we're saying, what are we pledging allegiance to? What are we believing? We believe in God.
Yes.
That word God, I mean, where's that come from? In what's the Latin, the Greek of that? What word are they using there, and what's it imply?
Well, it's interesting that the word theos, in the Latin is deus. The word theos, where we get the word theology. There's an ancient divine by the name of Gregory of Nyssa, who's I wish I could read a lot more of his stuff, but what I've read of his, I've been incredibly impressed. But he plays on the word theos because he says it comes from the same root as the word we have in the English language, theatre, which is also adopted from the Greek.
Yeah.
And a theatre is a place of watching, a place of seeing. And theos actually refers in a kind of metaphorical way to the fact that I believe in the one who's fully aware of me, who's watching over me in a kindly, loving way. I believe in the one who knows and understands all things. I believe in not the watcher, and sadly some people think of the watcher as the one who's going to watch out and punish you.
Yeah, the big brother sort of
No,
idea.
this is more like the
The
father.
guardian.
This is the father, the
Yeah.
dad,
Yeah.
the parent,
Mm.
who's so watchful for the well-being of its children,
Mm.
right?
He's
And
not
so
watching to punish, he's watching to care.
watching to care. And of course, any parent knows that includes setting boundaries and being firm at times, but mostly watching to see that the person is growing to a place of fullness and health and to the point where they can grow and maturely understand the embrace that is there for them.
Mm. Yeah.
Because remember, the God in 1 John, God is love. Hotheos, agapeistin. God is love. So I believe I allow myself to be attached to, give my heart to be loyal to be aligned to the one God, the one who is watching me, the one who is love himself.
Mm.
So we're sort of basically only got through the first 3 words of this
Yeah.
first line.
Yeah, I mean, and then I guess it does go to unpack and say, I believe in God, the Father Almighty. So we're acknowledging who he is and where he sits.
Yes. I believe, first of all, in the one, I've given my heart to the one who is lovingly watching over me, and then I realise that one is my Father,
Yeah,
Patera,
yeah.
my Father, the source of my existence, the one who defines who I am, the one who is, in the Greek word, the arche, the source of all existence, the one who is majestic and mighty. And for example, if a child, for example, knows the love of its father, and it knows its father, but the child doesn't know anything about its father, right? But the father knows who the father is. But I believe in this one who is watching over me, this one who I have given my heart to, and he is the source of all existence. Patera Pantokratora. Pantokratora means the creator of all things, or the maker of all things.
Father also implies, I mean, in an ideal world, we know that fatherhood is a bit tainted in our current society, but father also implies your origin,
Yes.
your bloodline, you are only existing because of your father. And yes, obviously mother, but the father is why you are here.
And the truest, healthiest meaning of the issue of identity. It's interesting here that we're living in a world where a philosophy called existentialism has taken over, and basically the centre of the existentialism is that I am who I discover myself to be in my inner being, whereas the Lord is saying, no, you are who I created you to be.
Who I define you to be.
You began in my mind. You did
Yeah.
not begin in your mind. You didn't have a mind until I gave it to you. And I know what you're for. I love you. And part of the creed is basically saying, I accept that my identity is found in God. And I love the in the book of Revelation, in the seven churches, in the church of Pergamon, speaking of the challenges the church of Pergamon faced, and said, to him who overcomes, and this is the overcoming and the challenges of life, I will give you, and this is at the end, a white stone upon which is written a name that no one else knows. So the fact is, I don't even yet fully know the fullness of the glory of who I am. I don't have an identity to defend. I have an identity to discover that was set in eternity before the foundation of the world. Right? And that is my Father. The word Father implies all of that. He is the source of my being and the purposer of my being, and I'm in a process, in a journey of discovery in the relationships and the things that go through my life to come to the fullness of what he created me to be.
And it's also, I mean, this is written in an era, or conceived, I guess, in an era where people were very much identified by their father. It was, Jesus bar Joseph, Jesus son of Joseph.
Yes.
And so your father was part of your identity. It also implied part of your destiny. And your future, your direction was to a large degree influenced by who your father was and who their father was.
Yes, and there was a huge contrast in that. This is where the incredible contrast in the scriptures come, because a lot of those fatherhood or patriarchal concepts they had in those days were quite abusive. Some were healthy, some were quite abusive.
Yeah.
And the Lord didn't throw out the concept of patriarchy. He actually said, no, the true patriarchy is the patriarchy of love, the patriarchy of the God who is love, the patriarchy of the God who understands and knows what is best for you and is not seeking to coerce you or to control you, but to set you free to be that for which you were created.
He redeemed the patriarchy.
It's a redeeming patriarchy. A redeeming patriarchy, and so patriarchy's become a bad word.
Yeah, it has,
but I would say bad patriarchy is bad, and I like bad just to be the bad word.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So Father Almighty.
Almighty.
What does Almighty mean? That's a big word.
Well, it's the source of all being. And interestingly enough, that in itself, we could do a week of lectures just on that word, on the Almighty, and that is if God is the source of all things, then God is the one who has all power, right? If God caused the universe to come into existence, as it says in the Psalm, when I look at the heavens, the work of your fingers, I say, what is man that you are mindful of him, or the son of man that you should care for him? And as we come to understand, as astronomy is discovering more and more the incredible vastness of the universe, right? The arche, the principle that is behind that, the root source of that from which it all comes, which is indefinable, and yet that is what the ancients, particularly in the Bible, understood to be God.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why the Hebrew word for God was the tetragrammaton, the 4 letters, was not to be pronounced, because they realized there was no way they could even say that and have a meaning in their head that did it. There was just simply this awesome being, source of all being. And the creed says that I happen to know that I have given my heart to the one who is watching over me, love, who happens to be my Father. The source of my identity is, in fact, the source of all being in the universe.
Again, the word, even in their grammar, the word, there's no word to capture it.
There's no way to capture it.
Yeah. So we talk about omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, all-knowing, all-seeing, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-present. But even that somehow falls short.
Yes. I read something just last week about doctrine and about signposts. They said it doesn't matter. Every time we try to put this into words, we say something that is less than the thing we're describing. And one way I used to talk about it years ago, I used to say, I want to tell you the difference. If you drive down the M1 and you see the sign, big signs that say Sydney this way, a doctrine's like the sign. The word Sydney on a sign is not Sydney, right? The reality is the city itself. And I could have, these days, I could have the most sophisticated LED signs flashing this, that, and the other thing, and beautiful video, artificial intelligence presenting it. It doesn't matter how clever I make the sign, it still isn't the thing it's pointing to.
Yeah, it's still just an indication.
It's still just the indicator, and we must never confuse the indicator for the thing itself. And the reality is that even if, say, for example, you're an atheist and you believe the universe is in control of all things and somehow or other the universe is going to sort it out. I've heard that language these days. I thought, well, okay, that universe is your father. That universe is your father. That universe actually, in terms of the Christian faith, when we say God, we just mean what you mean by universe, but we happen to believe that that universe is our Father. What you call the universe, not the universe itself, but the source of the universe, is our Father. What gave rise to the universe is our Father.
It's what they're choosing to put their faith in or their belief in.
Yes, and the fact is that even people who deny the existence of quote-unquote God, they're often denying the concept of God they think is being pushed on them. And often I agree with them. I don't believe in the God they don't believe in either. But the fact is that there is a source from which the universe comes. The source isn't the universe. God isn't the universe. This is something that gives rise to everything. And that is the Almighty. That is the Almighty, in the Greek, the Pantokratora, the creator of all.
Well, that's actually going to lead into our next thing, but we need to cut this episode at this point. But the next episode, we will dig further into that next part of that first line. We're still in the first line, which is about creator of heaven and earth. So
yeah, and the next bit, just to give you a clue, the next bit actually has to do with his intense poetry, the poet of heaven and earth. But we'll leave it at that.
We'll be back for the next episode. Thank you, Peter.
Think About It with Pastor Peter Karblas is a production of Rema.cc.